Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's been quite a while since I last uploaded a video. I'm sorry for that. Life got a little bit in the way, but I have something spicy for you. A Borderwar 15 after action report. Yes, the last August 2023, I was in the Czech Republic and attended the Borderwar 15 Milsim event. We got a bunch of photos and a bunch of videos, and yeah, I want to present what we did. Who is we? Well, we were the Auge Recon Squad of the Alpha Company in the task force. The Alpha Company is pretty much all the German players, and we did the reconnaissance for that company. Our squad was 9 people large and consisted out of players from all over Germany. So, let's get started, get yourself a hot beverage, and let's see what we did in that event. The first few days of that holiday were rather uneventful. On Wednesday, I drove via train down to Munich to one of my teammates, and then at the next day, we took 2 cars and drove to the Czech Republic. The ride took a few hours. We ate on the day, and then Thursday around noon, we arrived at the event area and did all the check-in. We chronoed our guns, did all like the insurance waivers, got our maps and got the patches that we ordered, and then we took one of the cars, because one of the guys bought a car pass, down to the task force base, unloaded our stuff, and started building the tents. That was pretty much the whole first 2 days for me. We met a bunch of the other people, talked, and made ourselves familiar. Because on Borderwar, the first fights do not happen before Friday. Well, 10 a.m. is the first time you could actually fight someone, but obviously you have briefings and stuff. So yeah, let's talk about Friday, what we experienced there. At Friday, we pretty much started at about 8 a.m. when everybody woke up, and it started with camouflaging up our gear. At around 10, the briefing started for the Alpha Company. The company commander, Ivanhoe, is a veteran of past Airsoft Border War events, and this year he also was our company commander. He's a pretty cool dude and fairly skilled at what he's doing. He is also, as far as I know, a former service member of Bundeswehr. So yeah. The mission for day 1 was to take the north. This means that we had to take the vehicles, drive up north, and I think our main objective was the Ivakara coal plant. The general objective that the Alpha Company had was to get up north, establish a forward operating base, and then take the coal plant. Our mission, however, was it to get up north and then get dropped off on the way and then walk towards the enemy and see if we can find anything. Well, find anything we did.
Das Kron hier ist echt ein Witz, kannst du sagen, was du willst.
Ja. Das nächste Mal gehe ich auch manchmal machen, so dass sie genau.
Die 02 auf die 3 Joule kommt, oder? Ja.
Die schießt jetzt 3 Joule.
Ja. Aber nicht mit 02, oder?
Well, I got hit.
Well, yeah, I got hit. we probably were the first casualties of this border war. We made a small navigation mistake and ended up about 400 meters too far into the enemy lines, which caused us to run into a company-sized enemy element. I was the first guy that was hit in our unit. The other two guys in my fire team were hit shortly after that. And that was the first encounter that I had in Border War 2023. Unfortunate, but well, that's how you learn. Navigate better next time. The enemy that we encountered, obviously rebels, the ones that were having a boonie on the head. Our fire team was on the right side of the road. The rest of the squad was on the left side of the road, and the enemy came from the right, or really from the south in that case. After that encounter, we obviously collected ourselves as a squad. We waited the 10-minute death timer. It's like a 10-minute timer that you have when you can still get medicked. We didn't have any medics on us, but you still have to wait that timer. And after that, we walked to the newly established forward operating base of Alpha Company. When we arrived there, we then got rid of most of our gear so that we can take a 1-hour break, fill up our water reserves, and plan our next mission that we got from Ivanhoe, the company commander. What's one item that our team brought quickly became very useful because one of the guys brought a 30-liter water canister. That water canister was riding on one of the jeeps of Alpha Company, and it was making itself to be a really big asset to the entire company and obviously to our squad. My personal daily average of drinking water during missions was about 6 to 7 liters. So having a reserve that you can access, not all the time, that's why you always have to bring enough water on your person, but when you are in a forward operating base or when you encounter the jeeps of the Alpha Company, then you can take that water and fill your drinking bladders, your bottles, and anything up. Really helpful, and I think next year we definitely will bring this canister again. Yeah, after our 1-hour respawn timer in the Border War, it is handled like this. You can only respawn in the base or a forward operating base, and in that 1 hour you can obviously take a break. However, when you have full armor, so you carry a helmet and a plate carrier, that time reduces to 45 minutes. In my experience, don't bother with a plate carrier. You will absolutely die in this event during like 30-degree Celsius summer heat in August while walking through relatively heavy terrain. So get yourself some light gear and enjoy your 1-hour break when you are respawning. After we respawned from the FOB, we got on our new mission. This time we did some further recon in the area, moved further west, and tried to find more enemy units. When we walked from the FOB, we pretty much first followed the road until we hit a turn, and then we went through the terrain. At some point we then came across a opening in the woods, and shortly after that, after we crossed that opening, we encountered a strong enemy force. We obviously radioed in that force, and the first thing that we did is ambush some of them and retreat over the road to then walk back where we came from. However, our unit got a little bit split up there, and we lost a bunch of our dudes. The Charlie fire team, which I was part in, stayed back roughly at the position where that opening was that we initially crossed, and we waited there for the enemy. At that position, I actually managed to take out about 7 enemy players from a very well hidden spot, while I was pretty much perfectly camouflaged with my Jilly. Sadly, I do not have any pictures or videos of that. It was kind of a stressful situation. But at that time, I always spotted someone to my left, quite far away. He was wearing a red beret, and he kind of looked like a commander. Obviously, I radioed in that information, and sadly, the order came that I should retreat and join up with the remaining part of our unit so that we can continue to find enemies and report their positions. If that order did not came through, I would really have loved to leave my position, walk back up the hill that was behind me, flank around and try to hit that guy with the red beret, because he kind of looked important, right? Anyway, this is just wishful thinking at that point. From then on, we met up with Alpha Company, gave them the information about enemy positions, and then we decided, because it already was getting late and a lot of us were tired, we decided to walk back to the friendly base. So pretty much walk south. Doing that, we actually, shortly before the ceasefire time, which is 8 p.m., happened, we encountered a large enemy formation sitting in the woods in like high grass. A lot of them were hit, but not all of them. So we decided to flank around, but due to a lack of decision making, we didn't dug down enough, and they managed to find us. This was really no one's fault. We just couldn't quite decide what we should do with them, because a lot of players in that formation had their safety vests over their heads, so their death wax out, and we weren't quite sure if they all are hits or if just some of them are hit, and we couldn't see anyone. Well, that situation, because they spotted us, led to them rushing the position of the 5 remaining members of the Auge Squad, and well, we lost that firefight. We took like 1 or 2 of them out, and because it was very close to the ceasefire, we then walked up to them, had a little bit of a chat, and fist bump each other for a good first day, and then we walked back to our base. This was pretty much the entirety of day 1 for us. We successfully managed to find the enemy multiple times. We got bruised up in our first engagement, respawned, had a second engagement that went pretty well, where we also managed to take out a sizable chunk of the enemy due to good positioning, and then we had a last firefight near the end of the day to, well, end it properly. Now, what happened at the second day, the Saturday of that event? Day 2 of the event started with shitty coffee. No, just kidding. Well, it kinda did, but the main thing was a briefing. This time, the task force tried to get into the village in the south, win hearts and minds of the people, so to speak, get some information, and do some stuff there, while we, team the Recon Squad, we were tasked to defend up north. We got a crossroad that we had to hold, and we were sitting there for about 2 hours. Most of the time was rather uneventful. However, at about half of our time sitting there, we encountered a large unit of PMC Black, so the PMC players that wore black uniforms, and we used some of our money to get information that a large rebel attack is about to happen, which shortly after, at about 2 p.m., happened. We then got tasked to walk back to the task force base and try to flank out the enemy. There we ran across a about platoon-sized element, so again, much larger than we are, and we lost about half of our unit, and then we walked back to the base for respawn. After we respawned, we got a new mission. That new mission was to secure the oil rig that is next to the base, while a second part of the Alpha Company sets up a radio station east of the task force base. So, our Auge Recon Squad, we walked west up the hill from the task force base and walked to the large opening that surrounds the oil rig. There we walked along the border of that opening and got our eyes on the oil rig, where we spotted if we can see any enemy units, which we did. Well, not quite enemy. We found a villager who was walking around, and back in the distance at the other side of the opening, we saw a bunch of vehicles and players. Using my 10 times scope, I managed to identify them to be task force players. They had all helmets on, so all is good. We then walked further north, and there we ran into a massive ambush. The reason why our recon squad walked into an ambush was because we joined up with the main task force. The problem that main task force had is that they are really easy to spot and are fairly loud. So, running into ambushes, quite common. Well, after that happened, we then we pretty much got all hit. We walked back to the opening of the oil rig, and from there, one of the jeeps took us down the road back to the task force base, and we had another 1 hour respawn time. In that time, there was a rebel attack, and obviously we filled up our water bottles and got something to eat and all that stuff. And yeah, that was at about 3 p.m. No, close to 4 p.m.
Base is under attack.
At that time, we didn't quite get a new order. So we thought it would be funny if we would make our own mission and walk right into the enemy base. Yes, we wanted to surprise them a little bit. And surprised we did. We walked out of the rear of the task force base, walked all the way up north to about medic point 2, walked then east for quite a distance, walked then again south, and then back. We walked west and then south and then east and walked right into the back of the enemy base. And here is a photo that I made of the enemy base shortly before we walked right into it. we had a really good time. um, during that time, we encountered a enemy patrol. One thing I have to mention is that during the second day, our squad actually got a medic. Alpha Company had a surplus of medics, so we got one. And one of the players in our squad took the medic role. We didn't get a new player, and that was really helpful when we encountered a enemy patrol, because they found us, shot our sniper, and we then rescued him, mediced him up, and we had a really beautifully executed pullback from the enemy force. We disengaged, hit a little bit, waited to see if they are following us. They did not. They probably had their own mission. And then we continued with our journey. This medic that we got was really helpful because he could patch up our sniper to stay in the fight, so that he doesn't have to walk back to the base. So yeah, that was our encounter. We then obviously continued walking. It's really uneventful. It was just a lot of walking, followed by more walking, followed by more walking. We had some glimpses of enemy units every once in a while. We radioed those encounters in, and shortly before we reached the enemy base, we encountered the biolab location, which is like a mission critical point. And we then continued on after taking a bunch of photos down to the enemy base. Yeah, that was pretty much the last day. We reached the enemy base very shortly before the ceasefire. We like knifed 2 guys and shot, I think, 1 there, but we noticed that a lot of players did not wear their eye protection, probably because they didn't expect us walking right into their base. And so we got all our death racks out. Even though we didn't got shot, we just called it, yeah, we don't want to cause any trouble. Someone complained, actually. And we just walked back to our base. Just mainly for safety. We didn't want to hurt anyone who wasn't wearing eye protection. And it already was late, so yeah. Sadly, though, there actually was a group of French players who were really excited about that base raid. They actually, shortly after we got our death racks out, they came running to us with like guns. Most of them didn't even have most of their gear on. They literally just grabbed the gun, and they actually wanted to fight us in their base. Yeah, we fist bumped each other. It was a good time. But yeah, we walked back to the base, and that was pretty much the end of the second day. Now, the third day actually did have a mission, but that's Sunday, by the way. We did not want to participate in that. We were very tired, which is kind of understandable because we walked about 30 kilometers in those 2 days. And we decided to just pack up our stuff and leave the event so that we get home not too late. However, the task force, the players that actually wanted to participate, they actually did a massive base attack on the enemy rebel base to push them out of the area. I have no footage of that. There's probably people that do have footage of it, but we packed up. All in all, that was Borderwar 15 for Recon Team Auge. We had a great time and we very much enjoyed ourselves doing this event. Next year we will definitely come back. See ya soon.